Good evening and welcome back to World Talks, coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Staria Strzemska. Lithuania closed its two largest airports on Friday and temporarily shut several crossings on its border with Belarus after helium balloons drifted into its territory, the third such incident in the Baltic state this month. Across Europe, aviation has repeatedly been disrupted in recent weeks by drone sightings and other airspace incursions, including at airports in Copenhagen, Munich, and across the Baltic region. To discuss, I have Darius Jurgelevičius, former Deputy Foreign Minister of Lithuania, joining me here right now. Good evening, sir. Delighted to have you with us. Thank you for joining.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
So before we embark on our discussion, let's have a listen to a quote from Vilmantas Vitkauskas, head of National Crisis Management Center in Lithuania.
Tonight's losses, from what we've heard from the Lithuanian airports, are around 17,000 euros. But that's only part of the total losses, as the most important thing is to take into account the losses of airline companies. Of course, passengers probably also face high losses. Their total sum, if we talk about civil cases against those who organize such crimes, would be a significant push towards justice. And those who arrange such operations should think about the potential consequences.
So how do you gauge such incursions? How severe are they?
Let me start from just reporting to you that just recently, more than just a bit an hour ago, the third time Vilnius Airport has been closed. Border police reported that some identified flying objects are coming towards Vilnius International Airport, and due to security risks, Vilnius Airport, the third time this week has been closed its operations. So we are coming to the record time in 1 week that we have encountered 3 times Vilnius International Airport has been closed. So it looks like we are getting used to this, and when it comes to consequences, those that and damage that those closes are coming. So I guess those numbers are actually not reflecting real situation. I mean, 17,000, as Director of Crisis Management just mentioned, it's a very little part of those losses that every single passenger that has been affected with this closure, and airlines, as he also mentioned rightly, are calculating those losses, and it's going to amount to much more serious number. But I would like to look at this from a different angle. These incidents that already getting kind of pattern, and we are getting get to those, are a tests for our ability to respond. And I'm a bit afraid just to say that those responses that we are still using, sending diplomatic notes, threatening to close and closing temporarily border crossing points with Belarus, I guess that those measures are, in my opinion, are not effective and not adequate when it comes to that threat those balloons and those flying objects are really causing to us.
Mm-hmm. So what would need to happen to make it stop?
I guess we have already discussed many times, at least here locally and on the level of European Union and NATO, that we have Lithuania or any other single member state should not really be left alone or abandoned just to deal with these threats. So we have just come up with a kind of unified approach and to be more robust on responding. So I guess it's time for us to start acting and not only threatening by words. Actually, if that is appropriate, I would joke about this, saying that because those balloons are carrying smuggled cigarettes, I would say that it's time for us just to send back those proceeds that they are gaining in selling those smuggled cigarettes in Lithuania back same way to Belarus. I mean, that's a joke. But I mean, I guess it's time for us to think about how we can really make them feel that this is not going to be tolerated anymore. So we need to act, not only use words and those the kind of rhetorics which leads nowhere. There's no any kind of sign that Belarusian side. I mean, I guess we all understand that without any blessing from officials, those actions like sending hot air balloons through Lithuanian border would be allowed. I mean, would be happening. So it's a silent kind of support from Belarusian authorities for this, and it's a, I would call it hybrid attack on Lithuania.
Even though that they're just sort of smuggling balloons, you still consider them a part of a hybrid attack. I just wanted to sort of clarify that. Yes.
Listen, I mean, look at the number of those incidents. It's used to be last year. Our border patrols counted almost 1,000 balloons, those that crossed Lithuanian Belarusian border. 1,000. Imagine it's like we have 365 days in a year. So every single day, 3 balloons. So it's absolutely, it's not a joke. And these days, as you see, there's a third time this week. And we had last night, even Kaunas Airport, international airport, has been closed due to the same reason. So let's be honest. It's not about smuggling cigarettes. It's about testing our ability to respond. So up to now, we still kind of hesitant to show our teeth, our tusk. So we need to be more responsive. We need to be more dedicated and to be more brave to address those threats that Belarus is really causing to us.
The reason I ask is that because Lithuania is not only getting those balloons, right? I mean, recently you had this incident when an Su-30 fighter and Il-78 tanker entered from Kaliningrad, right? And in this case, 2 Eurofighter Typhoons were scrambled. So what kind of response could we implement in case of these balloons?
First of all, we need to somehow just to scale up our ability to detect them. It's very important for us to get state-of-the-art system that could be able really identify them from the very moment of launching them, so that when they will be already in the air, we will be ready to respond and to shoot them down. With the shooting is a little bit sort of complicated thing, that if that is going to happen over territory where people live, so shooting is another kind of thing that could cause some damage to property or even just to harm some people. But nonetheless, it's very important to have state-of-the-art, as I said, equipment that could be able to identify those flying objects, and another part of this should be that equipment that could really shoot them down. And I guess it's time for us just to look around and take something that is already on the market without any delay and equip our border guards with state-of-the-art technical equipment just to deal with this problem.
So let me just go over the numbers once again. You've already mentioned this, but Lithuania has reported 966 balloons that entered its airspace last year, and 500 so far this year. So this is a pattern. It has been a prolonged occurrence. What is the goal here?
What is the goal here? It's a very simple goal. Belarus trying really just to question ability of the state to make this thing kind of resolved. In other words, every single day, I mean, every day when this happens, I mean, we're getting used to this kind of thing, and people are less and less getting concerned, except those guys, those folks that affected at the airport. So they're testing our ability, first of all, technically just to shoot them down and to deal with this problem. And secondly, it's a psychological affair. They want just to question ability of the state to be effective in tackling this problem. So it's a kind of both things getting together. That's why I use that hybrid war term to describe this situation.
So how are these ongoing Russian and Belarusian hybrid attacks, because I believe we can call them this, how are they perceived inside Lithuania? By the general public, I mean.
We're trying, general public is very concerned about that. As I said to you before, it's a bit strange that we still not have a clear answer. I mean, not response to this issue from our NATO colleagues or the colleagues from European Union. We're still dealing it on our own. Although there's the initiative about this eastern flank is well debated on the NATO level. But when it comes to this kind of event, I mean, it's the third time this week, I'm missing a little bit sort of support or vocal kind of response from NATO or European Union. And it should come immediately, because now we look like it's our national problem, and we left to deal it on our own terms.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of response are we talking about? Could you perhaps clarify this?
I wish we could have really very serious technical means of shooting them down and identifying them as early as possible, just to avoid closures of international airport and disturbing our communication with the entire world. Because Vilnius and Kaunas international airports are two main harbors which connect Lithuania with the rest of the world. That is not only a financial damage, but it's also a very, very PR damage to our country, because we are getting to the point when safety of aviation is under very serious question. So, and maybe some of those guys that planning to come to Lithuania would, after those reports, would say, listen, it's a very high probability that I won't get there as scheduled. It's also very important for us to have this kind of message to the rest of the world. We dealing with this. Be certain you will be absolutely safe flying to Lithuania.
And I just wanted to go back for a moment to the Russian aircraft, to this incursion by Su-30 and Il-78 tanker and the Su-30 fighter. Gitanas Nausėda condemned this occurrence, this incident. So what happens next? Will there be any additional steps taken?
I guess it should be this incident should be seriously considered on the level of NATO, because this is not a joke. We have air policing, the air policing mission here, which actually reacted. But I mean, this is another testing kind of thing that Russians using. I mean, I guess you remember when Russian jet fighters crossed the airspace of Estonia. So this is another thing. There's another accident which just happened recently with Lithuania. I mean, it's like, it's like by mistake, they're entering for a few minutes and they're leaving back. So, but it shouldn't be left without proper attention and proper reaction. And it should be on the, as I mentioned, it should be not on the national level, although our president has condemned this. It should be really considered and addressed at the level of NATO, as this alliance is a security alliance.
Mm-hmm. And Darius, before we go, just one short question about the current situation along Lithuania's border with Belarus and Kaliningrad. Could you perhaps tell us a bit more here?
I can tell you one thing which is, I guess, very important, and that could make us a little bit sort of proud. We have very serious land surface system of security, especially with the border with Belarus. We spent millions of euros just to build a fence just to make it as safe as possible, taking into account that we have those migrant crises in the past, as Poland also had this problem. So we have very seriously taking this as the threat, and we're addressing it at the highest level with all possible means. Same with the Kaliningrad region, and I must admit our government is doing its best to make it as safe as possible. Although there's still a lot of loopholes, and those loopholes are clear and known for us. But government has a program which is well drafted, and at the end of implementation, I guess we will have one of the most secure border of the European Union here.
And this is a great conclusion to our talk. Darius Jurgelevičius, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World. News Bulletin coming right up.